right, so probability. Remind me if something has an absolute 0% chance of happening. It's never, ever going to happen. What do we call it? Impossible. If something is for sure, 100%, absolutely, positively going to happen, what do we call it? Certain. All right. So probability is always between 0% or 100%. When you flip a coin, what are your options? Heads or tails. So when you have equal chance of getting heads or tails, what do we call that? Equally likely or 50-50, 50%, one of those two things. All right. So now, everything that is between 0% and 50% has a what chance of happening? Unlikely. Everything between 50% and 100% has a likely chance of happening. Any questions on that part? In a minute, there is a practice. Some of you have already done it, some of you haven't, but you're going to practice this, and it's going to give you a situation, and you're going to have to tell, is it impossible to happen, unlikely, likely, or certain? Any questions about this? All right. So now, let's look at this. Let's say, any baseball players in here? Did you play last week? All right, your last baseball game. How many at bats did you get?
Wasn't at the last baseball game. I was out of.
Well, let's just pretend.
Okay, yeah.
How many times did you go? How many times did you bat in the game? Let's just pretend. Let's say let's go 4. It was a long game. If you go to bat 4 times, how many times do you think you're going to get a hit? But one time you didn't because you weren't really there. So we're going to say 3 out of 4. So Isaac got a hit his 3 out of last 4 at bats. All right. So for some of us, you may like fractions, and you can look at that and determine the probability is impossible, unlikely, likely, or certain. For those of us that don't like fractions, what can we do to that fraction? Turn it into a decimal. So put 3 divided by 4 in your calculator. And if you make that decimal go boom, boom, like Luke Bryan's speakers, what percentage is that? All right. So here are some different ways, and this has got something new in it, okay? So Isaac, at his last baseball game, got a hit 3 out of 4 times. One way they may ask you this question is they may say, what is the likelihood or what is the probability that Isaac gets a hit at his next at bat? And what they want you to do is to use what's already happened. Well, what happened at the last game? What was his percentage of getting a hit? 75. So listen to these 2 words. They're going to ask you for observed probability. In the scientific method, what does the word observe mean? Observe, isn't that in the scientific method? Is it? You make an hypothesis, you do an experiment, you observe the result. What does that mean, observe? You look at it. You have to be confident. That's what it means. Observe means what you look at. Okay? So it may say, what is the observed probability of Isaac getting a hit at his next at-bat? That means what already happened. What did you already see happen in his last game? What's the probability? 3 out of 4, 75%. Good. All right. There's another way that can y'all tell I've been at basketball games all weekend yelling. My throat's all smoker. I didn't smoke. All right. So it may ask you what the observed probability is. It may also ask you what the experimental probability is. It means the same thing. You're going to use what has already happened for your answer. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what is the observed or experimental probability that Isaac is going to get a hit the next time he bats? 75%. What is the likelihood that he's going to get a hit?
75%.
Where does that fall on our chart though?
Likely.
Likely. Any questions about that? All right, so those are just some basic ways that they can ask you questions. Now, when you're getting into basic probability and figuring out the likelihood of you winning something, you always have to know your total. So let's say I've got marbles in a bag. I've got 2 green ones, 5 blue ones, 3 red ones, and 10 orange ones. Okay, now, if you go back to 3rd grade basic fractions, they always tell you that what goes on the bottom? The total goes on the bottom. That is still true in probability. So the first thing you need to check, I hope everybody's listening, is if they don't give you the total, the first thing you need to do is find it. What is the total number of marbles? 20 is my total. All right, so now, what is the probability that if I reach in and pull out a marble, that it is a green marble? 2 out of 20. Now, they may ask you to leave your answer as a fraction. They may ask you to do it as a decimal. What would it be as a decimal? 0.1. Or they may ask you to go boom, boom, and leave it as a percentage. All right, are we good? What is the probability of drawing a red marble?
I got 3.
3 out of
20.
If they ask you to do it as a fraction, 3 out of 20. What if they ask as a decimal?
20.
What if they ask as a percentage?
You got 15. I have to.
What is the likelihood of drawing a green marble? How likely is it? Unlikely. How likely is it to draw a red marble?
Pretty unlikely.
Unlikely. Last one and we'll be done. Look at this. What is the probability of drawing a orange or blue? Orange and blue both make you a winner.
Go 15. It's pretty likely you'll get it.
All right, John Britton said it is 15 out of 20, and it looks like it's pretty likely. I would agree with that. Remember, to be likely, it's got to be above what percentage? Half, 50%. So if you're not sure if that's above 50%, you can put it in your calculator. Which would be what percentage? So is it likely to get a blue or orange? Yes. Any questions about probability? All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to log into Delta Math. If you look over there, some of us have already created an account. You're going to use your school email and password 22. If you have not created an account, you will click account, create account, click student, and use that class code 950818. And then these 4 assignments are what we're going to be working on for the next today and tomorrow. Let me take a picture of them to add right here. Let me see if I can. Picture. these in Delta Math.
Oh man.
There we go. Those are the ones you're going to be using. Hang on 1 second.
I'm pretty sure I know it.
And then
I'm pretty sure I created.
some people did. I can help you. Let me touch sons.
I'm like 75% sure.
There is the info
Here you go.
for Delta Math.